green energy and moving that way. I think what Michigan needs is a diverse portfolio of energy. So some of that is going to be green, some of that is going to be natural gas, some of it's going to be nuclear, some of it's going to be coal. And if we have a full portfolio, we sort of ride out the bumps of prices of coal or gas or when the wind doesn't blow or whatever the case might be. One of the most interesting things I heard from the panel today was the MISO prediction that we're going to be short of energy. We don't have enough of it going. The reason for that is that they don't credit wind with 100% energy because, so they have to have some in supply to back that up. And we don't have that backing right now. So I get concerned because when it becomes when we are missing it, the price goes up, supply and demand. So we need to find a way to be able to become an energy exporter almost and use what we have here to do that. I think we have some great natural gas and storage that we should be looking at. I think we need to look at more of I'd love to be able to have, I'm a big believer in the wind turbines, but I think they need to be out in the middle of the lake where it's almost always winding. And I think there's some good areas to put it in right now, but people are saying that that's hurt their view shed. I kind of doubt it, but I think that a lot of the European countries are going that way, and Canada, and I think we need to look at that very closely too. It's going to be a challenge, and it's not going to be something that utilities take easy because it's never been done before, quite frankly. But it's something we need to look at and maybe explore and maybe have some help from the government to look at it and do the research on it.
Can you tell me about the Michigan Manufacturers Association?
Be happy to. We're a 112-year-old organization. We've been around a very long time. I have over 2,400 members throughout the state of Michigan, and when I count a member, I don't count each facility, I count Ford as one member, and not every one of their facilities. So we have a very diverse group of manufacturers, and as I said to the panel before, it's an interesting group, and I love it because about 90% of my members are less than 100 employees. And about 65% of them are still family owned. So it's still a family business and continues to be, quite frankly. And I think Michigan is never going to leave that route of manufacturing. We're still going to be, at the end of the day, one of the centers that makes things for the world. And I'm very proud of my members for doing that.
No, that's great. So, I mean, from a manufacturer's perspective, looking at these energy goals, I mean, first you're looking at it as a cost saving, right? But then after that, it's sort of the next level is driven by policy?
Well, no, I think it's a combination of both. I think we need to look at, right now, the state is in the process of looking at the energy policy. The last time they did that or changed it was in 2008. So it needs some updating. There's no doubt about that. And how do we do that? Now, my members are very concerned about energy costs and anything that might add to those energy costs. So they're very skeptical if there's a tax or a fee that's put on for energy efficiency because, quite frankly, they're already doing much of that work. They have to compete on a world stage. So they don't like to pay for something they don't get in return. Now, having said that, maybe there's some other things they could get in return and that could be helpful to them and make them more efficient. And I think we're always open to look at those things. We just don't know what those are yet.
Yeah, and do you face that problem often, is convincing people to make these changes?
Yes, yeah. If you're a mold builder for another guy who makes something else you're not really looking at how much energy use you have. You know it's going to take a lot of energy to build that mold because you got to bake the plastic and make it all, and it's very energy intense. And anytime any fee is added or extra is added to that, you notice it right away. So it's a big problem for my members. Having said that, I don't think they'll mind paying it if there was something they could get in return. They don't see what they're getting in return because they are becoming as efficient as possible. They have to beat their bottom line. Well, maybe there's some incentive. We just passed, well, we didn't pass it quite yet. The governor just signed a bill for personal property tax. And we have this tax on equipment, and well, until the citizens vote on it, a yes vote in August 5th, we have this tax on equipment that manufacturers pay every year. over and over and over again. And most people don't know that. They think personal property tax must be personal, must be mine. No, it's an equipment tax. So that holds them back from buying new equipment. As I say to people, if you had to think about getting a tax every time you went out and bought that big screen TV, you pay the sales tax on it, and then you pay a tax every year on having that big screen TV, you'd think long and hard. Maybe I don't need that quite yet. This TV is still working. Let's see what happens. I think now we have an opportunity to double up with what they have done with the personal property tax and eliminating that, and maybe incentivize manufacturers to change their older equipment out to get that out and put new equipment in, which would cause energy efficiency.
That's a really interesting point. Because I know that that's sort of, that's what they're doing on the consumer levels to convince people to get a new refrigerator.
Yeah, exactly. And there's cost savings there if you can get people to do it. The problem is they take them out of the kitchen and put them in the garage half the time. So you don't get the cost savings. But I think if there's a way we could compete and help them do that, I think that'd be a real win-win for both the state, for the utilities, and for the manufacturers, their customers. And they would be incentivized to get the latest and greatest machine at that point. I think that makes a big difference to them.
That's great. Okay, so in just sort of big picture and looking at the Energy 2030 goals, what do you see, what do you think it's going to take to get us there?
I think we need to be very creative to get there. I think we can't just, and I think that's a little bit of what happened with the ballot initiative a year or so ago, 25 by 25. It put it in the Constitution. It didn't say how you're going to get there. It really just sort of, you're going to get there, there's going to be penalties. And that scared a lot of my members, quite frankly, because they weren't sure what the map was to get there. And if they weren't there, the penalties are obviously tacked on to them in energy costs. So, or they're tacked on in energy costs while they're creating all of this too. So I think you have to be very creative. Are there ways that we can have a win-win for everybody? I don't think anybody thinks energy efficiency is wrong. I just think we have to find a way to make sure everybody's getting some bang for the buck out of it. And how do we do that? And let's think about that very carefully. I think we probably have some room for more alternative energies out there. I'd like to think about how we do that, but we've still got to solve this battery problem, I'll call it, storing the energy until we need it. And so we've got to think of some ways to do that too, before we get too far down this pike. So I think there's a number of things we got to think about. I don't think my members are opposed to paying for those things if they have a bottom line help that's going to make a difference to them. And if they're not as reliant on this energy over that energy, we have a nice full portfolio, that all makes sense to them.